You've seen this happen, right? You see two events that look almost exactly the same, but the way they're talked about in the news, totally different. How does that work? Well, today we're going to unpack exactly that, how media framing can spin two completely different stories from the same set of actions, and why that really matters. To get to the bottom of this, we've got to look at a key idea from political strategist Frank Luntz. He famously said, "It's not what you say, it's what people hear." And that's it right there. It's not just about the words, it's about the picture those words paint inside your head. That simple idea is the key to everything we're about to explore.
So here's the puzzle we're trying to solve. What's going on when the actions on the ground are basically the same, clearing out city streets, but the stories we're told about those actions are polar opposites? How are we, the public, supposed to figure out what's actually happening? Okay, so the tool we need here is a concept called framing. This is what's going to help us pull apart the operational reality, that's what's literally happening on the street, from the political narrative, which is the story that's being told about it.
So what exactly is framing? Look, it isn't necessarily about lying. It's more about choosing what to highlight, which words you use, which images you show. It's like putting a filter on a camera. It's the lens you're being shown the world through, and that lens can change absolutely everything.
All right, let's dive into our first case study. We're going to call this one a simple broom. We're in San Francisco, November 2023. This is our baseline, a really clear example of what happened versus what was said about it.
The facts on the ground were pretty straightforward. San Francisco was about to host some of the most powerful people in the world for the Apex Summit. So they launched this huge citywide cleanup. Homeless camps were cleared, graffiti got scrubbed away, sidewalks were power washed. The action was obvious, and so was the reason for it. And here's the thing, the way they talked about it was just as direct. California's Governor Gavin Newsom didn't try to spin it as some big, permanent fix. No, he basically said, we're just cleaning the house before company comes over. He was completely open about it being for the summit. The story matched the action.
And that's the key right there. The public description lined up with the reality. It was a temporary, cosmetic sweep for a very specific event. The action, the broom, was allowed to be just a broom, no more, no less.
Okay, so that's case one. Pretty straightforward, right? Now let's pivot to our second case. And this is where things get, well, a lot more complicated. We're going to look at a hypothetical situation for Washington, D.C. in 2025. One based on stated political plans. The actions might look familiar, but the story? It becomes a loaded weapon. So here's how it would go down, step by step. First, the D.C. police force gets put under federal control. Then, the National Guard is deployed onto the streets. And finally, a broken windows strategy gets rolled out. They start cracking down on small-time offenses and, just like in San Francisco, dismantling homeless camps. The playbook is almost identical. But the story told about it? Whoa, it's not one story, it's two, and they are completely at war with each other. On one side, it's framed as a righteous war on crime, a mission to take back the Capitol. And on the other, it's an authoritarian federal coup, basically a military takeover of an American city. The broom is definitely not just a broom anymore.
But hang on a second. There's a piece of data here that throws a real wrench in that war on crime story. In the year right before this hypothetical crackdown, official data showed that violent crime in D.C. was already down by 26%. That fact makes you stop and ask, wait, if crime is already dropping, what is this war really about?
So what is going on here? How do we make sense of this massive difference? It really all comes down to what you could call an asymmetry of honesty. The way the story was told in each case was just fundamentally different. Let's just put them side by side. It makes it super clear. The action? A cosmetic cleanup versus a federalized crackdown. Pretty similar on the ground. But the stated motive? One is cleaning for guests, the other is taking back the Capitol. And that difference in motive is what causes the media frame to split right down the middle, from a simple cosmetic sweep into this huge battle between war on crime and authoritarian coup. Now, to be really clear, this isn't about saying both events are morally the same. That's not the point. The real issue here, the analytical problem, is that in that second case, the public isn't even given the option of a simple factual story. We're only offered two competing, highly politicized narratives about what happened. Okay, so why should you care about any of this? Because learning to see past the story, learning to spot the frame, honestly, that's like a superpower for navigating the world today. Think about it. The frame changes the movie that plays in your head. War on crime makes you picture SWAT teams and raids. Cleaning for a visitor makes you picture, well, street sweepers. The skill you have to build is to always separate the two.
What is the operational reality on the ground? And what is the political narrative they're trying to lay on top of it?
So, I'll leave you with this. It's a simple question you can use every single day. The next time you see a big news story, a political announcement, anything, just stop and ask yourself, am I seeing the broom or am I just seeing the story about the broom? Trust me, the answer can tell you everything you need to know.